Some disasters happen without warning. Others shouted their arrival, but no one listened. From firestorms that turned the sky blood red, floods that swept entire neighborhoods, deadly heatwaves to earthquakes that shattered the silence. The years 2024 and 2025 have shown us how fragile life on Earth is. This is not just a headline. It was a life-changing, map-altering moment, and a wake-up call for us all.
Top 10.
On April 3, 2024, an earthquake with a magnitude of 7.4 on the Richter scale rocked Taiwan. With a depth of 40 kilometers, the earthquake was centered 18 kilometers south and southwest of Hualien City, Hualien County. Earthquake tremors were felt as far away as China, Shanghai, and Fujian Province. This earthquake was the biggest shock in Taiwan in the last 25 years, since the 1999 Chichi earthquake. The earthquake caused several buildings to collapse in Hualien, the city closest to the epicenter. It was even reported that many buildings were damaged and tilted due to the Taiwan earthquake in Hualien City. Rescue efforts are underway in Hualien. Earthquake vibrations were felt in mountainous areas in the interior of Taiwan, which were marked by large-scale landslides. Video footage showed buildings swaying strongly in the capital Taipei, with a number of residential buildings collapsing. The impact of the earthquake also resulted in a number of vehicles being damaged. Power outages and internet outages have been reported across the region, according to internet monitoring group NetBlocks. Wednesday's earthquake occurred at 7:58 local time at a depth of 15.5 kilometers and triggered at least 9 aftershocks of magnitude 4 or greater. The Taiwanese government reported at least 19 people died, including the death of 1 Australian citizen and 1 Singaporean citizen. More than 1,145 people were injured, 2 were missing, and 442 others were still trapped. According to the National Fire Agency, it recorded at least 1,151 incidents related to the earthquake. In Hualien City at least 125 buildings were damaged, and 25 of them collapsed. 20 people were reported trapped under the rubble of collapsed buildings. This 7.4 magnitude earthquake raised tsunami warnings in Taiwan, southern Japan, and the Philippines. Taiwan's worst earthquake in recent years occurred on September 21, 1999 with a magnitude of 7.7. As many as 2,400 people were killed, around 100,000 were injured, and thousands of buildings were destroyed. Even though the earthquake occurred at the peak of the morning rush hour, residents' panic quickly faded because they were frequently shaken by earthquakes and were prepared to deal with them with training at school. Notifications also appeared in public media and on cell phones. Authorities initially estimated the earthquake to be a relatively mild magnitude 4, so they did not send out an alert. However, the earthquake was strong enough to scare some people even though they were used to shaking. This incident is a reminder that the unexpected can happen at any time, and vigilance is not an option, but a necessity in an unpredictable world.
Top 9.
Disasters provide no warning. One moment it will be peaceful, but the next, the world will be in chaos, and no one can expect disaster to come. Like what happened in this video. October 9, 2024, became a day etched in ashes and memories, where Hurricane Milton descended like an angry ghost, sweeping across the land with a merciless fury, leaving nothing but desolation, silence, and the echo of lives lost. The sky that once held sunlight turned bruised, and the wind howled as if mourning what it had destroyed. Roads disappeared in huge waves, houses were destroyed like paper, and time seemed to stop for a moment to remember the destruction that occurred. Survivors spoke of the silence that followed, a silence so deep it felt sacred, as if the earth was holding its breath, unsure of what had just happened. Hurricane Milton quickly intensified, reaching a staggering Category 5 with winds of 180 miles per hour. With a central pressure of 895 millibars, Milton broke the record for the most intense hurricane ever recorded in the Gulf, tying the infamous Hurricane Rita of 2005. Despite weakening slightly, Milton made landfall near Siesta Key as a severe Category 3 hurricane. The wind was howling at 120 miles per hour, and the skies opened up. Footage of heavy rain flooded streets, cars were submerged, and residents sought shelter. The fury of the storm is unrelenting. More than 3.4 million Floridians are in the dark because the power grid is down. Buildings collapsed, and Florida's landscape began to change. Dramatic images of iconic beaches, once vast and inviting, now split and reshaped by the force of the storm. A beloved beach, a symbol of Florida's natural beauty, was torn apart. Sanibel and Captiva Islands witnessed the power of nature as their shorelines changed forever. Even famous buildings do not go unnoticed. The famous Tropicana field suffered extensive damage, its fabric roof no match for Milton's strength. Tragically, Milton claimed the lives of at least 24 people, leaving a trail of destruction estimated at $34.3 billion. Hurricane Milton tested Florida's mettle, but its communities emerged stronger, a testament to human resilience in the face of nature's fury.
Top 8.
Rain is often a welcome guest. Its cool, refreshing touch is a welcome relief after the long, hot grip of summer. But when the sky won't close and the rain falls endlessly, that same blessing can turn into disaster, flooding the world with endless mercy. As in this video, heavy rains caused by isolated low-pressure areas at high levels brought a year's worth of rainfall to several areas in southeastern Spain, including the community of Valencia, Castilla-La Mancha, and Andalusia. The disaster that occurred on October 29, 2024 caused the loss of life of at least 223 people, 3 people were missing and severe property damage reached €10.7 billion. This disaster is one of the worst natural disasters in Spanish history based on the number of fatalities. While similar heavy rains have occurred in the region in the past, the flooding was more severe, likely caused by the impacts of climate change. Poor preparation and disaster response by regional and national governments also likely exacerbated the loss of life in the event, particularly in Valencia. Following the floods, thousands of volunteers from across Spain and a number of non-profit organizations were mobilized to help with the cleanup and recovery. On October 25, 2024, EMET meteorologist Juan Jesus González Alemán warned that the upcoming cold snap had the potential to become a high-impact storm. This statement initially received ridicule and accusations of alarmism on social media platforms. When warnings were sent asking residents to stay at home, many of them were already on the road to work or even submerged in low-lying areas or underground garages. In Andalusia, the storm caused landslides and damage to buildings, roads, bridges, and agricultural land. The resulting flooding caused the deaths of at least 217 people, including 155 in Valencia province, 2 in Castilla-La Mancha and 1 in Andalusia. Hundreds of other people are also missing, including members of the Romanian community in Spain. The floods also caused major damage to buildings and infrastructure, sweeping away cars and derailing a high-speed train but leaving none of its nearly 300 passengers injured and causing extensive property damage estimated at €10.7 billion. According to José Ángel Núñez, EMET's chief climatologist, most deaths occur in areas where it never rains. The storm hit the Magro and Turia river basins and the Poyo riverbed and caused water to overflow from these rivers, while residents were caught off guard while going about their daily lives on the evening of October 29 and the morning of October 30. In an instant, muddy water blocked roads and railway tracks, and entered homes and businesses in towns and villages on the southern outskirts of Valencia. This situation forced drivers to take shelter on the roofs of their cars and residents to take shelter on high ground. The local government came under heavy criticism for being late in providing an emergency warning, which was only issued after the flood conditions were already serious, as well as because it took a long time for aid to arrive at the disaster site. Spanish King Felipe VI, Queen Felicia and Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez, who visited the flood-affected city of Chiva on Sunday, were forced to postpone their visit because they were greeted by protests after heavy flooding hit the area. The Spanish government deployed more than 17,000 security personnel, including police, firefighters and military, to provide assistance in Valencia. The Spanish government also sent a large ship for refugee camps and medical facilities to the port of Valencia. Body storage facilities, relief supplies, and specialized personnel to restore roads, electricity, and water systems were also deployed. The local government also set up a volunteer center to help coordinate the thousands of volunteers who came in droves to help the victims of the flood disaster, bringing food and water, as well as shovels to clean the mud covering the roads. The Spanish government also announced 3 days of mourning from October 31st to November 2nd to honor the victims.
Top 7.
On July 30, 2024, heavy rains triggered a landslide in Wayanad district, Kerala, India, resulting in more than 420 people dying and 397 people being injured, making this landslide the deadliest in the history of Kerala, India. 17 families died. Most of the victims were tea and cardamom plantation workers, who were asleep when the landslide occurred. More than 118 people are still missing. Among the survivors, at least 5 children lost both their parents, while 6 others lost their father or mother in the disaster. The landslide caused muddy water and debris to mix with the Chaliyar River, where more than 200 bodies or body parts were found. The landslide was caused by unexpectedly heavy rain causing the hillside to collapse, triggering a torrent of mud, water and falling boulders, destroying the area beneath it. The incident occurred after midnight following heavy rains on Monday in the Wayanad district of Kerala, a state known as one of India's most popular tourist destinations. At around 2:17 IST, 2047 Universal Time Coordinated, a landslide struck near the origin of the Punapuzha River, one of the tributaries of the Chaliyar River, between the villages of Punjaramadam and Mundakai, wiping out both villages. This was followed by a second landslide at around 4:10 IST, 2240 Universal Time Coordinated, near Koromala, which diverted the flow of the Iravanjapuzha River, causing flash floods that swept away the entire Koromala village. The collapse of the only bridge connecting the settlement displaced around 400 families in Mundakai and Adamala. One of the survivors admitted that he woke up in the middle of the night because he felt the ground shaking, and saw a fallen electricity pole. I and some neighbors ran to nearby houses where we heard screams for help and took some of the injured people to safety. My father, mother, sister and daughter were inside the house, and when I walked towards them, another landslide occurred with a roaring sound, he said. I held on to the window bars as I watched my mother and sister disappear under the mud. I couldn't do anything, he said while holding back tears. More than 1,555 houses and other buildings including schools, pharmacies, electricity board offices and 136 community buildings were damaged. Additionally, 290 shops, electrical infrastructure, 2 transformers, rural roads and 3 bridges were affected. Landslides also destroyed a total of 1,500 hectares of land, including 770 hectares of agricultural land. Following the landslide, business establishments including hundreds of shops in Koromala and Mundakai were closed by officials, citing the danger of further landslides. Cochin University of Science and Technology in Kochi conducted research on the land topography and geomorphology of Wayanad and concluded that massive deforestation occurred in Wayanad district as a result of the creation of tea plantations, which contributed to landslides. Another study published in 2022 by the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health on deforestation in Wayanad district showed that 62% of the green cover in the district disappeared between 1950 and 2018, while tea plantation cover increased by about 1,800%, leaving less forest to keep the muddy hills stable. A cruel combination of landslides and uncontrolled deforestation triggers a series of deadly disasters. Nature, stripped of its defenses, strikes back with merciless force, leaving behind deep sorrow, burying homes, hopes, and all life under the weight of a world pushed too far.
Top 6.
Japan was again shaken by an earthquake. On January 1, 2024, an earthquake measuring 7.5 MWW at 16:10 Japan Standard Time with a shallow depth struck Ishikawa Prefecture, Japan, causing tsunami waves as high as 7.45 m along the coast of the Sea of Japan. The reverse fault shock reached the maximum JMA seismic intensity Shindo 7 and modified Mercalli intensity 11, extreme. The shock and accompanying tsunami caused extensive damage on the Noto Peninsula, especially in the Suzu, Wajima, Noto and Anamizu regions. At least 557 fatalities have been confirmed and 2 people are still missing, of which 510 fatalities occurred in Ishikawa Prefecture, 5 in Niigata Prefecture and 2 in Toyama. Of this number, 228 deaths were caused directly by the earthquake itself, and another 298 died as a result of the disaster, which was exacerbated by injury or disease. The earthquake shock also injured 1,389 other people. This earthquake was the strongest and deadliest earthquake in Japan since the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. The Japan Meteorological Agency officially called this earthquake the 2024 Noto Peninsula earthquake. It also caused Japan's first major tsunami warning since 2011. A tsunami wave with a maximum wave height of 7.45 meters, 24 feet, hit Wajima City, a tsunami measuring 80 centimeters, 31 in Toyama Prefecture, while a 40 centimeters, 16 in, tsunami was recorded in Kashiwazaki. The tsunami also hit Sado Island. At least 557 total fatalities were recorded, 518 of which were in Ishikawa Prefecture, including 189 in Wajima, 157 in Suzu, 53 in Noto, 44 in Anamizu and Nanao, 19 in Shika, 5 in Uchinada, 4 in Hakui, and 1 each in Nakanoto, Hakusan, Komatsu. 15 people died following the incident due to severe injuries or illness. More than 80% of deaths are caused by house collapses. Additionally, 2 people died as a result of the tsunami, although the death toll from the tsunami may have been as high as 26. At least 1,339 people were injured in the prefecture, 312 of them seriously. 250 buildings in Ishikawa Prefecture reportedly collapsed, including schools and hospitals. In Suzu, more than 12,500 houses were damaged or destroyed, 33, at least 36,000 households lost power after the earthquake. Cracked roads and damaged water mains were reported in the cities of Himi and Oyabe. The most severe damage occurred in Wajima, Suzu and Noto, although the extent of the damage is unclear. At least 780 people in 30 districts in remote villages are isolated due to damaged roads and landslides and require helicopters to reach them. The Noto Peninsula earthquake in 2024 is a reminder of how devastating natural disasters can be. With a magnitude of 7.5, this earthquake resulted in many casualties, widespread damage and many aftershocks. To improve safety and preparedness in such incidents.
Top 5.
In early September 2024, the first and most powerful Category 5 Typhoon Yagi of the typhoon season hit northern Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, the Philippines, and Myanmar. Typhoon Yagi, known in the Philippines as Severe Tropical Storm Enteng and in Vietnam as Typhoon No. 3 of 2024, was a deadly and highly destructive tropical cyclone that caused major damage in Southeast Asia and South China in early September 2024. Typhoon Yagi formed over the warm sea east of the Philippines. So, it was the first country hit by Yagi. Is the Philippines. The combination of Typhoon Yagi and the southwest monsoon caused heavy rains in Luzon, causing widespread flash flooding in various areas. The Hong Kong Observatory issued a gale or storm no warning. 8 as Typhoon Yagi approaches. Hainan Island in China experienced extreme rain and more than 57,000 buildings were damaged there. In preparation for Typhoon Yagi, schools and transportation services in areas within the storm's path were closed. In the Philippines, 21 people died while 26 others were reported missing. In Vietnam, more than 329,000 buildings were affected and 325 people died, with 24 others missing. Most of the casualties were caused by landslides. Yagi's remains caused devastating floods and landslides in Myanmar, where 433 deaths and 79 missing people were confirmed. These remains also caused major flooding and deaths in Laos and Thailand. Overall, the typhoon caused at least 844 deaths, 2,279 injuries, and 129 people missing. Yagi also damaged, flooded, or destroyed more than 741,800 buildings, resulting in losses of more than $14.7 billion, 2024 US dollars, in 8 countries and territories. In the Philippines, Yagi combined with the impact of the southwest monsoon, resulted in 21 deaths, 22 injuries and 26 missing. Yagi caused flooding in Metro Manila, and in Bulacan Province. In Manila Bay, several ships ran aground off Navotas, while 2 others collided with each other. Reported that the storm affected 2,828,710 people and displaced 80,842 people, resulting in total damage of $52.4 million US dollars. This includes agricultural losses of $40 million US dollars, and infrastructure damage of $12.4 million US dollars. On September 6, In Vietnam, a storm toppled trees, roofs and billboards across the country, leaving at least 321 people dead, injuring 1,978 people and leaving 24 people missing. At least 126 deaths were recorded in Lao Cai province alone. At least 130,000 people were displaced across the country. More than 241,000 homes were damaged across the country, while flooding submerged 84,000 homes, and 280,000 hectares, 690,000 acres, of crops and destroyed 1,000 fisheries. Damage also occurred to 2,350 schools and 745 health facilities and many more. Damage estimated at $528 million. Yagi brought torrential rains that caused flooding across Laos, killing 7 people and damaging 298 houses, 252 roads, 77 schools, 11 hospitals and many more. In Luang Nam province, heavy rain forced the closure of Luang Nam airport. 300 people were evacuated from 17 villages across the province. Damage estimated at $32.56 million. In Thailand, 52 people died, including at least 36 in Chiang Rai province and 6 in Chiang Mai province. Across the country, 34,000 houses were damaged, and damage occurred in 46 villages in 5 districts. The flood also damaged 1,191 houses and 92 shops in 5 villages in the Mae Sai district and many more. Damage was estimated at $904 million. In Myanmar, Yagi remnants caused massive flooding and landslides, considered to be the worst to hit central Myanmar in 60 years. The Myanmar government confirmed 433 deaths, 79 missing, and 48 injured. Radio Free Asia estimates the number of missing people at 200. At least 320,000 people were displaced, while 24 bridges, 1,040 schools, 129 office buildings, 5 dams, 386 religious buildings, 14 electricity transformers, 456 lampposts and more than 158,373 houses were damaged by the floods. An additional 2,116 homes were destroyed and many more. Overall, Yagi caused losses of $222 million.
Top 4.
The Hajj is a series of pilgrimages in Mecca, Saudi Arabia that Muslims undertake at least once in their lifetime. This annual worship begins on the 7th and ends on the 12th of Dhul-Hijjah, and is carried out in countries in the Middle East. The weather in Saudi Arabia is very high and can increase in certain months. When the time of Hajj falls in July and August, temperatures can reach an average high of 54 degrees Celsius. This can cause heat stroke, especially for pilgrims from countries with lower temperatures. As happened from 14 to June 19, 2024 last year, around 1,301 Hajj pilgrims in Mecca died due to extreme heat, with temperatures exceeding 50 degrees Celsius, making it one of the deadliest Hajj pilgrimages to date. The hottest temperature recorded at the Grand Mosque in Mecca was 51.8 degrees Celsius, 125.2 degrees Fahrenheit. At least 2,764 cases of heat-related illness were reported through June 16, 2024. Only one of the confirmed deaths reported was not due to a heat-related illness, but rather died from fatal injuries suffered during a small crowd. Of the 1,301 victims who died, at least 600 people were Hajj pilgrims from Egypt. Jordanian diplomats stated that 60 Jordanians also died due to extreme heat. Tunisia's foreign ministry reported that at least 35 Tunisian Hajj pilgrims died due to a sharp increase in temperature. The Indonesian government reported 144 deaths of its citizens. 13 pilgrims from the Kurdistan region in Iraq were reported dead, with the heat claimed to be one of the main reasons. 5 female Hajj pilgrims from Kashmir died due to heat stroke on Mount Arafah and in Muzdalifah. Other pilgrims from Iran and Senegal were also reported killed. An Egyptian diplomat issued a sobering warning: countless pilgrims, driven by faith but burdened by poverty, are undertaking the pilgrimage without official registration, unable to afford the formal fees that provide security and protection. Their devotion, while unwavering, leads them to face deadly extremes. Deprived of access to air-conditioned rest areas and organized supplies of food and water, many of them suffer from dehydration, heatstroke, and relentless exhaustion under the unforgiving sun. The diplomat further revealed that the large number of unregistered pilgrims has pushed the available infrastructure to the limit, causing the distribution of critical resources, food, water, and medical aid, to fall apart and turning the holy journey into a humanitarian crisis waiting to happen. The World Meteorological Agency, WMO, and various climate research institutions confirm that 2024 will be the hottest year in history. Global average temperatures in 2024 will exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial era, exceeding figures recorded in previous years. This record hot temperature is caused by two main factors: the strong El Niño phenomenon and increased greenhouse gas emissions due to human activities. Many countries in various parts of the world are reporting extremely high temperatures, with some areas experiencing deadly heat waves. From forest fires in Spain and Kenya to scorched land in the United States and Nepal, which experienced severe fires that caused huge losses. Across Asia, different warnings are starting to sound. India, China, Indonesia, and Japan unite in a grim declaration: 2024 will not be just another summer, but the hottest year on record.
Top 3.
On April 12, 2024, tragedy struck again when a major disaster struck Pakistan and Afghanistan, wreaking devastation on mountain villages and densely populated cities. The earth shook, and chaos ensued in its wake. Families are torn apart, communities flattened, and silence haunts where laughter once lived. In an instant, what had stood for generations crumbled into dust. Roads turned into ruins, rivers overflowed with debris, and the cries of the injured echoed in valleys where once only the sound of wind and prayers could be heard. Rescue teams struggle against crumbling terrain and dwindling time, digging through the rubble not only for survivors, but also for the fading heartbeat of hope. For those left behind, April 12th is not just a date, it's the boundary between before and after, between the world that was, and the world that will never be the same again. This wasn't just a disaster, this was natural disaster in its most brutal form. Torrential rains, powerful lightning, and sudden flash floods hit Afghanistan and Pakistan, claiming more than 1,800 lives in a matter of hours. Entire communities were swallowed by the waves, houses disappeared, fields were submerged, and roads were torn to pieces. This land exacts a heavy toll on lives, livelihoods, and the fragility of the structures that hold these border countries together. In Afghanistan, floods hit communities with merciless force. More than 1,200 homes were destroyed, some reduced to rubble, and others on the verge of collapse. According to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, more than 1,200 families were directly affected and their lives changed in an instant. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Janan Sayek said the number of victims was mostly due to the weight of roofs collapsing and houses becoming graveyards. The flooding didn't stop there. More than 600 kilometers of roads were submerged, 800 hectares of farmland was submerged, and 200 livestock were swept away, leaving a landscape of destruction and washed-out dreams. In Pakistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa bore the brunt of the destruction, and the rising death toll paints a grim picture. Lightning strikes claimed the lives of farmers in open fields, who were caught in the middle of harvesting when the skies turned deadly. The incessant rain caused houses to collapse, burying many families under their own roofs. Streets in big cities turned into shallow lakes, and even the capital, Islamabad, was not spared from the storm's reach. As the crisis worsened, authorities were forced to declare a state of emergency in the worst-hit southwestern provinces, bracing for what might happen. Torrential rains poured down on the parched land due to an extremely dry winter, a cruel change in nature. The fragile, sun-baked soil, hardened by months without moisture, repelled the floodwaters like a rock, forcing the water to flow across the land in a devastating flood. What should be nurturing instead becomes destructive. Experts warn that this is not a coincidence, but another warning sign, a reflection of the crisis unfolding on the planet, where climate change is changing the rules for survival.
Top 2.
A landslide occurred in Papua New Guinea at approximately 3 o'clock Papua New Guinea time on May 24, 2024 after a large amount of debris broke loose from the limestone slopes of Mount Mungalo. Some survivors said they heard two loud cracking sounds about 1 to 2 hours before the disaster, which alerted them to possible danger, and allowed them to escape. The landslide destroyed 6 villages in Mate Miritaka rural LLG. In Kaakalam village alone, dozens of houses were destroyed and an estimated 500 people were buried. The landslide blocked a highway near the Porgera gold mine, and destroyed 150 meters of the main highway leading to Kaakalam, causing concerns over fuel and goods supplies. Mine management said that their regular operations were not affected and that there was enough fuel on site to maintain the facility for 40 days. A road construction crew working on the highway was also buried by a landslide. Around 2,000 people were buried in Tulipana village. The Highlands Highway connecting the area with Port Moresby, the capital, was also blocked. Gardens that provided food for the village and its 3 waterways were buried and destroyed. An official from the International Organization for Migration estimated that the area covered by the landslide was equivalent to 3 to 4 football fields. Later estimates showed that the area covered by the landslide was about 600 meters long and about 90,000 square meters in area. The debris is estimated to be between 6 meters and 8 meters deep. Conflicting estimates of loss of life emerged following the disaster, caused by the lack of up-to-date population statistics since the last national census in 2000 and the fact that the affected area was also home to bars serving minors from other villages as well as people displaced by inter-tribal fighting. On May 27, it was estimated that 2,000 people may have died as a result of landslides in Yambali village alone. These figures were not confirmed by government officials. On May 29, council member and chairman of the Mulataka Disaster Committee said that more than 160 people had died, citing village leaders who had conducted a head count. More than 4,000 people were directly affected. 5 bodies and a leg of the 6th victim were found. At least 17 people were injured and 4 others rescued, while 1,182 houses were reported destroyed or buried. More than 5,000 pigs, 100 shops, and 5 vehicles are also believed to have been buried, as well as 2 health centers. An additional 250 houses were declared uninhabitable due to unstable ground conditions, leaving around 1,250 people homeless. According to the Red Cross, the landslide was most likely triggered by persistent rain or the relentless hunger for gold mining, nature's wrath or human greed, each of which is capable of shaking the earth.
Top 1.
On March 28, 2025, at exactly 12.50, life in Myanmar changed drastically. An earthquake measuring 7.7 on the Richter scale occurred near the Sagaing-Mandalay border region, sending shock waves through the heart of the country, causing most buildings to collapse, including tall buildings. The number of victims who died as a result of the devastating earthquake that rocked Myanmar last week continues to increase and has now reached 3,600 people, more than 5,017 others were injured and 160 people were missing as a result of the disaster. This disaster affected more than 17 million people, leaving many homeless. In fact, the former Miss Tourism Myanmar 2018, Silami, was one of the victims of the earthquake. The former Myanmar beauty queen was trapped in the rubble of Sky Villa in Mandalay when the earthquake struck, and was found dead by rescue teams on April 2, 2025. He was found under the rubble of a 12-story condominium in central Mandalay, after last week's earthquake. The devastating earthquake with a magnitude of 7.7 on the Richter scale was one of the largest earthquakes in Asia. Not long after that, an aftershock came which was no less strong with a magnitude of 6.4. The vibrations of the 2 earthquakes were even felt in Thailand, China, Cambodia, Bangladesh and India. The shallow earthquake damaged the underground oil pipeline network and cut off the electricity network. Around 80% of buildings in Sagaing city were badly damaged by the powerful earthquake. Not only that, roads connecting remote towns and villages are badly damaged and winding, slowing down rescue and aid efforts, including delivery of heavy equipment such as excavators and backhoes. Videos showed panicked residents running from swaying high-rise buildings in Myanmar and Thailand, with dust filling the air and traffic grinding to a halt. Myanmar's military has declared a state of emergency in parts of the country's central region, including the country's second-largest city, Mandalay, and the capital Naypyidaw. Thai authorities have declared an emergency zone in the capital Bangkok following the quake, after the quake toppled a skyscraper under construction. The incident killed at least 6 people, injured 22 others and left 101 missing. Rescuers are racing to save dozens of people believed to be trapped under the rubble. The collapsed building was a high-rise under construction for a new government office, the State Audit Office for the Kingdom of Thailand. The building is located in Chatuchak Park. About 320 people were at the construction site when the quake struck. Rescuers are still searching for victims trapped under the rubble. The video shows the building collapsing inward, creating a large cloud of dust. The earthquake that rocked Thailand was centered in Myanmar at a depth of 10 kilometers. The impact of this quake, the 90-year-old bridge was damaged and the historic Mandalay Palace was badly damaged. Amidst the rubble and despair, hope rises with empty hands and unbreakable hearts. Armed only with courage and compassion, local volunteers immediately took action, proving that even in the darkest times, the spirit of the Myanmar people remains burning. From forest fires that devour entire landscapes, turning day into night, to floods that swallow entire cities. From skies that open with fury to lands that shake without warning, storms that swallow entire cities, waves that wipe out coastlines, and earthquakes that destroy everything we thought was solid. As we reflect on the disasters that occurred in 2024 to 2025, let us remember more than just the lives and losses lost. Let those memories propel us to action and protect what remains. Each disaster carves out a chapter of heartbreak, loss, and resilience. However, it is a warning from a world that is at its breaking point. We cannot undo what nature has unleashed, but we can prepare, prevent, and rise together, changing the ending to a different story.